Hello, Phil Cross here, esophageal cancer. It's been your search, perhaps, or even your following. I don't quite know what the advantage would be of following, subscribing, and all that sort of nonsense for this. But yeah, I've got to tell you, I'm still on my way to Huesca, down near sort of the Pyrenees, and sort of across these plains at the moment. Fucking hell, it's hot. It is proper fucking hot here. I've not long stopped for a drink, and I'll be where are we now? Probably another 40 minutes. I'll be stopping again, but yeah, it's fucking hot. They say about the plains of Spain, don't they? Wow. Okay. Another little policey thing, I think. Talking mainly, I think, about the job that I absolutely loved. So in 1967, back when the flying squad was the flying squad that people tend to associate with, you know, your Jack Regans and the like. But back in 1967, there was a guy on the flying squad that was basically trying to house somebody and kept losing him. Whenever he picked him up, he'd lose him in traffic, until one day he decided to come to work on his Vespa. So he came to work on his Vespa and was managed to follow the guy all the way home, find out where he lived, and then do whatever he needed to do from there. And as a result of that, he put forward an idea, business case, I suppose you'd call it these days, but he put forward an idea that when they're trying to do surveillance, perhaps they should have a motorbike attached to it. For those kind of situations, heavy traffic, busy junctions, stuff like that. So they employed basically 4 guys. They insisted that they were experienced motorcyclists. So they employed 4 guys from traffic, with traffic background, to do purely that. And those 4 guys were posted one to each area of the Met, so north, south, east and west. There's 4 of them, and they were asked to come up with their own sort of call sign for radio speak and whatever. And they decided, because there was 4 of them and they're on 2 wheels, that they would call themselves 4-2s, and that's essentially the job that I went into 8 years before I retired, and the job that I absolutely loved doing, and would still do it now if it wasn't a case of the fact I had to retire and all the other implications. But we had a sort of reunion a few years ago, and 2 of them were still alive, and I was fortunate enough to meet 2 of the original 2 4-2s, which was quite an honour, really. Yeah, so how did it start? When I was a probationer, I was still out on Barkingside Division, and I was at Waltham Abbey Police Station, which was part of the Met then. And I was making a cup of tea on a Sunday morning, early turn. I'm a probationer. It's part and parcel of what you do, or what you used to do. They don't fucking do it these days. They're moany little fuckers. But I'm learning a trade from people that are willing to teach me, so I'm going to make them a cup of tea. Simple as that. So I was in the sort of what would be the canteen area of Waltham Abbey, which was Waltham Abbey Police Station. It's Essex now, but it was basically a 2 up, 2 down house in the high street. It was a quaint little thing. And there was a cartoonist there was a magazine called The Job that used to come out. There was a cartoonist that used to do a cartoon called cked, and his basically his police station he used in every one of his cartoons was Waltham Abbey. Just a little trivia there. So yeah, I was making a cup of tea on a Sunday early turn, and there was a guy sat in a corner reading his book in motorbike kit. There was a motorbike down in the backyard. So, do you want a cup of tea, mate? Yes, please, if you don't mind. Lovely. And a cup of tea. Can I ask you what you're doing here? You know? And then he proceeded to explain to me that he was a 4-2 on the surveillance teams. And after our conversation, I decided that that's the job I wanted to do, without any shadow of a doubt. That's the job I want to do, and I'd never ridden a motorbike in my life. So fast forward, the thing about getting onto surveillance teams back then was it was pretty much dead men's shoes. You crossing here? No? Oh, fucking hell, get away from the crossing there, you dickhead. It was dead man's shoes, so if you wanted to go in surveillance, you had to wait for somebody to leave for whatever reason, whether on promotion or retire or whatever. It was a very difficult role to get into. And one thing leads to another. You know, you get a driving qualification, then you have to stay on that particular borough for another 2 years because they've trained you. Then you move to another borough, you've got to stay there for 2 years because you've moved there. You know, and every time I seemed to move, I'd have like a 2-year obligation to wherever it was, and then the advert come out for surveillance, so I wasn't able to apply for it. It was a bit of a bummer, really, but you know, it's life, innit? Then I eventually got onto the flying squad. Not entirely happy about the flying squad, if I'm honest, but what it did do for me was it gave me my shots course, so I was a firearms officer, and it gave me the surveillance course, which, bearing in mind I wanted to go to the surveillance teams as a motorcyclist, when I applied, I put my application in, I was basically, as far as the surveillance teams were concerned, fully trained apart from the motorcycling. So they didn't have to train me to be a surveillance officer, I was already trained. They didn't have to train me to carry a gun, I already carried one. So it was just a simple case of, I want to be a motorcyclist, and they bite your hand off basically, because it's just such a dangerous job that nobody wants to do it. And when people do want to do it, they're very happy for you to come and do it, because the surveillance teams at the time when I left, there was 18 teams, and there was something like 22, 23 bikers, and there's supposed to be 2 for each team. So you can tell by that how sort of short they were all the time of bikers, which was good for us because it was licensed to print money, fucking overtime city, which then affected your home life. It's you know, it's about trying to weigh it all up, really. So yeah, I moved into surveillance teams as a surveillance operative, and then went through the extra training that was needed to be a 4-2, and that involved many bike courses. So I had to do the response bike course, which is what all traffic officers do. Then I had to do the advanced bike course, which not all traffic officers do, and boy do they fucking hate the fact that that's the case. And then I had to do the 4-2 bolt on, which is a really strange thing to try and describe to you, because in order to be a surveillance motorcyclist, you've got to learn to try and be unseen as much as possible, and you know, they're sort of blending into the background when it comes to things like, you know, going around the city and whatever. I'd wear a courier's vest, so you know, people don't give you a second look. You're on an unmarked bike, a high powered bike, and basically the bolt-on is almost like a lesson in how to basically ride dangerously but in a safe way, and that's a really odd thing to try and say, but it's simple as that. And the danger inherent in the job was apparent. You know, I lost my finger and broke my foot in one accident. I was actually put off the bike about 12 times by members of the public. You know, 3 of those times I've just stopped at traffic lights and some fucker shunted me up the arse. It's as simple as that. It's not like you know, I was doing anything particularly dangerous at the time. I always said to my wife that if I have an accident and it's my fault, then I'll stop doing it. But it was never the case, really, happily. happily. But yeah, 4-2 was just the absolute dream job, really. Loved it. Gutted I had to leave it. Yeah, and that's that really. Just a little insight into what I used to do. Ta-da!